Good afternoon. I'm going to have a little request because so much of my work will be visual, because I'm a visual person. If some of you would like to move closer to the projector, you might see the visuals better. I'm quite a novice to the stage of culture, so please forgive me if I'm trying my best. I'm going to share with you sound bites and visual bites that have worked for me in the past years with education, government, as well as corporate interaction. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a journey. The visuals is going to be a lot, so I'm going to go through them pretty fast. But what you will see very much is what has inspired me. What I'm using this as case studies to learn from and to do work with university students. I was invited to be part of this presentation last week. And I thought I will cheat a little bit and put in a little knowledge instead of just technology. China is very much work in progress because it's developing, and what I'm showing is very much work in progress as well. And not all the work that I'm going to present are my work, only part of it is. And I'm going to go through quickly. The agenda will be a little bit about me. I think this will put you into context as to how I'm doing the work I'm doing. There are 4 quotes, 1 math symbol, 3 formulas, 3 city case studies, some examples, and I have 20 minutes. This is a little bit my background. That's a little me in the top picture. And I was recently asked my roots, and I've been just quite funny and luckily all about the astrological cycle of 12 years. My first 12 years in China, then in France, in Europe, then in the United States, then in Japan and Southeast Asia, and now I'm back in China for the last 10 years or so. That makes me about 75 years old. And I'm also very lucky that I have gone through this trajectory of 5 disciplines in my work. Architecture and urban, really from education, but education and knowledge transfer, cultural platforms, marketing and advertising, and really that's where it helped me a lot with storytelling and how do we tell the story the best we can. And the last part, what I find very valuable, is the idea of cross-cultural and cross-multidisciplinary. 2 quotes. One by Thomas Friedman. The new literacy of modern day is no more writing and reading. It is about lifelong learning and relearning. The second quote from Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. And maybe I'll try to add a third one, stay young. Lifelong learning. I believe very much that it is absolutely should be inclusive to the society. It means all ages, all classes, public, creative industries, education, and government. That really means city, township, and hopefully villages. And I think very much lifelong learning is not about just reading books and conventional studies, but it's very much entrepreneurship driven. And in the case that we talk about CSR, or what we call ISR, independent social responsibility, social entrepreneurship is a very, very amazing new properties that we're learning a lot from. The math formula, X, the power of X. This is what I think magic happens. For me, very much X has become the new yin-yang for me of China. Yin-yang for China has always been a balance of cold and hot, left and right, inside and outside. But X is a continuation, it's exponentiation factor, and this is where magic happens. Business and culture, commerce and art, science, humanity, economy and culture, the top 5% of the pyramid and the bottom 5% of the pyramid, the haves and have-nots. And just a little example, imagine elders and orphanage get married, they get crossed. Both need each other, both will be blocked from it. And I have worked in the art and commerce sector for about 20 some years, and coming to China really I spent some time rediscovering my role and understanding of how I belong to China. And I think the concept of purpose is really what all these formulas that you see that is really making a big difference. We talked about that. It is really inclusive within the X factor. And you will see some of the stakeholders starting at 11 o'clock, society, public NGOs, city government, policymakers, think tanks, education, academia, industries, OEM, ODMs to be, creative industries, designers, consultants, etc. These are all small, medium, large businesses, as well as sometimes what we call the inside and outsider experts. We cannot only rely on our internal experts, and we cannot only rely on our international expertise. Two more quotes. Whatever we possess becomes of double value when we have the opportunity to share it with others. This is a good friend, and there are a lot of learnings from him. These are a few of the things that he profits. Think transdisciplinary, cross-fertilize, take a cultural approach, share knowledge, create synergies, be intuitive, dare to fail. And most important of all, everything we do, everything that we mean should be for people. And I think we cannot lose track of that. Few case studies. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. I have timed myself last night. I was under 20 minutes. But because of my nervousness, I wasn't nervous last night. Shanghai, I'm going to share about two studies. One is a project we're doing this year, is how do we marry OEMs with creative industries? How do we turn them into ODMs? I think for some of you who do not know the both terms, basically OEMs is the manufacturers, and ODMs are the design, brand producers. And the second one we're starting as of this week, tomorrow afternoon, is the Shanghai Public Library. How do we take a public library and modernize it for what we call modern days relevance? And Taipei projects as well as China Rural project, and I'm very happy to have Ron here with us. The first example, first case study, the idea of really how do we take Shanghai OEMs, all the factories around Shanghai that wants to excel, that wants to become better, that wants to get out of manufacturing state and become producer, creator, innovators. And what we're going to do, very simple, I'm not going to go deep into it, but it's a 2-day weekend. We're going to do it twice a year. They will meet up and we find a way to lock the door so nobody gets out, and no money talk for the weekend. Because more and more you will see some of the case studies here is we try to eliminate the concept of money within our dialogue and conversation. The rule is the company must want to change. They just don't want to come and listen, that they will not be allowed in. They do absolutely want to have to change. And the second one, design companies who want to do. The second case study with Shanghai Public Library. This is a program that started a few months ago. We've given about 7,000 square feet, 700 square meters space. And finding ways, how do we find ways to communicate to library users? That means people from all ages, all classes, all educational level and interest level. So we find ways to introduce them different things that we think are the excellent pillars and contributors of the society. Photographers, traditions, fashion, literature, art, and science. And there will be talks, exhibitions, demonstrations, workshops. It's about doing, sharing, and co-learning. This one, sorry about the size of this. I didn't expect the projection screen to be this small. Is there a key pointer? Okay, it doesn't remember. I'll just share with you the top column, the column on the left. This is for Taiwan. Thank you. I borrowed yours. Okay. This is a project we've been working for about 6 months with the City of Taiwan. We've been in discussion with them for a very long time. And I think this is an interesting model because what I've been doing in very often of the cases is find ways in management, in negotiation, to bring people together so there's not one losing too much of one party, but everybody contributes and everybody gains. So you see on this top column on the left, it's about the city. The second and the third column. The second column are the local top companies. We don't have to name all of them, but these are the top companies of Taiwan. We feel this formula can work in different cities. We're trying to test it in Shanghai and in Guangzhou as well. Companies like HTC, Mastercom, Giant, Foxconn, etc. These are top local companies that all want to innovate and all want to advance. The third one is insider, outsider experts. So we're taking some of the best experts globally and find ways to bring them to Taiwan for a 5-day workshop. This becomes what we call, right now the working term is the Taipei School of Advanced Learning and the Taipei School of City Advancement. This project will be all on cloud, so every piece is going to be on video, and people can, in different parts of the country, can learn and use the material. So the formula is quite simple. City times industry times innovation excellence equals city acceleration class. And each event, for example, will be city government times Quanta times IDO and equals Taipei School event number 2, event number 3, number 4, etc. The last case study here is a project that I'm focusing on this year. It's about China rule. In all the different studies and experimentation in university, this is, and also of course with the government, how important it is to bridge urban and rural. And some years ago, I came across a formula that it never left my mind. It's the idea of the top 5% of the pyramid. If they can take care and find ways to cross with the bottom 5% of the pyramid, they will set up a very nice balance in a very quick way. And our first attempt, we're traveling there probably every 6 weeks within the next month, is Guizhou and Hunan, because both of them are touching each other, both provinces, and these are the areas that we would like to move forward on. So the project is really called TEDx China Found Land. We probably have to get the name approved, but it is really about live economy. I want to find different ways of addressing the word culture. But in this case, it's really how do people keep on moving and keep on surviving well, and also it slow down the brain drain phenomenon of China rural area. So you can see the 11 points around the circle, but there will be other points I can add it. So we're bringing 50% of Chinese local experts and 50% of global experts, from slow living to education to social and NGO, farming distribution, industry, product development. In this here you see ceramics, fashion, crafts, textile, and tea. Branding, storytelling, F&B development, elder care, homestay, farmstay, and small resorts and inn. How do we touch tourism and also traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. This slide is in Chinese as well. I think what we're talking about is also something that we're not only focusing on postgraduate, graduate studies at university or research, but it's also very much for everybody. So how do we get everybody interested? I think there are different levels. We look at the 4 different levels of depth. The first one is I'm curious. Second one is I'm interested. Third one is I cannot get enough. Fourth one is I'm addicted and I want to be an expert. I'm going to share some examples of 3 categories of global things. This is the reason that I show the visual bites, the reason that I think the visuals are more important than almost my words or you guys looking at me, is what we have noticed in both government, commercial sector, and education. The more examples, the more good examples that you show, is where you're going to really convince the people that we're not inventing the wheels. There are great people doing amazing work out there in the world, and here they are. Are you ready for a bad mixed video? Advanced learning. One example. There are a couple of examples here. Think is a school built 2 years ago in Amsterdam. This is called Amsterdam School of Creative Leadership. This is the way that we bring the school together. Every student has to be 10 years already working. They're coming from different countries, from different professional sectors, and they try to resolve a few problems at each class. They have incredible mentorship. So these are the formulas that we see now, and what we call extraordinary learning or radical learning. So it is really about learning by doing, learning by really great case studies and people who are excellent and experts in these areas. Unreasonable at sea. This is 2 organizations coming together. One is called the Unreasonable Institute, and the second one is called Semester at Sea. Imagine you want to learn how relevant is your idea, how relevant is your thinking in the world. This is the formula. Take in 10 tech companies, 20 of the world's top mentors, 600 students, 1 ship, and 14 countries they will visit within 100 days, 105 days. This is the ship, and about 3 months ago they were in Shanghai. We started out in California, and this is really where cities, companies, and people get intermingled and get really working together. These are some of the mentors and the teachers, and this is the event that we held in Shanghai. So basically 50 people came off the boat, and I brought 70 people in Shanghai coming together to mix with them, to really understanding how relevant is the ideas, how appropriate, how well we can make the ideas run in China. Striker Institute, I'm going to go through quickly. This is something that Ron participated. It's a Russian school put together by 5 people. This is again private sector and culture. 5 people that are quite 5 Russians that are quite dissatisfied with Russia, with the way that Moscow cities are being built and the Moscow's architecture is being thought of. So the 5 people came together and built a bar. The bar was called Striker, and it became the school because they realized the first place to attract the people would be a bar. And these are the top mentors of the school, including Rem Koolhaas for urbanism and architecture. And very soon they will create an urban forum for Moscow. So this is a body that is never given a license for education by Russia, but is functioning incredibly in advancing the way that they will double the size of Moscow in the next 10-15 years. This is the experience that we had in Shanghai. Okay, about 50 people from Russia and about 60 people from China. Sandbox, I'm going to show some examples of youth entrepreneurship. I'm going to go through it quickly. Blue Sea, this is a little bit extraordinary and sensational. What if you... Oh my God. Can you check your watch? Imagine if you are allowed to go to a place with no visa. For people that have a hard time to go to the United States, they created a boat 30 minutes away by ferry from San Francisco. This is the boat. All education, all studies, all examinations will be done on this boat. and businesses, funders are all being part of it. I will just move on fast, sorry. This is pretty much the breakup of the people that they will have coming from different parts of the world. Learning for all. We just finished advanced learning. This is learning for totally inclusive learning. This is about transfer of ideas and thinking. Khan Academy, the best example probably, within 3.5 years, 3,500 were uploaded online. Learn almost anything for free at any time you want. This is Salman Khan, and Bill Gates introduced him 3.5 years ago at TED, and since then he has been, he started by a simple video that he wanted to upload for his nephew, for his niece in India. It was a math class that he uploaded, and he realized the entire class, her class level went up. So he started doing this, and now 3,500 classes later. This is really education for all. Coursera, another example of all university classes. There are 3 million people, minimum of 3 million people studying this right now, and this is the way the class is roughly. At 42, probably now up to 80 universities are participating in this. TED. This is a little bit the TED stage in Shanghai. We're quite lucky we are able to do this entirely free of charge, so that nobody have to buy a ticket, and it is a lot of begging from the organizers' part. But basically, we want to give something free, something very solid, something that is hopefully meaningful. And annually, about 1,500 people audience, and maybe about 30,000 viewers. Last year's theme was Chinese diaspora around the world, and Chinese. This is TED USA. We do think that it is an amazing format for learning, for generating ideas, and for sharing. But one thing we learned that 18 minutes might not be enough. 20 minutes is not very much enough either. But I think that the idea of accelerating this past 18 minutes is very important. This is Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson. Active citizenship. I'm going to go through the names very quickly. Ashoka Foundation, probably the best social entrepreneurship foundation in the world. And they all learn from each other, a little bit like what we said this morning. What happens from a conference like this, when a lot of data, a lot of ideas are being presented? Can we find a way to really deeply share it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel for our own place? Kaufman Foundation. Kaufman Foundation was set up a number of years ago, and $2 billion of funding that the companies can access through Kaufman Foundation. So the idea of really entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and how do we find a way to teach that entrepreneurship to BOP, bottom of the pyramid. This is Ewing Kaufman who started it. Bridge to China, a Chinese project started from Hong Kong University in Hong Kong. And it's a lot of children still have a hard time crossing waters to go to class in the morning after walking an hour or more. The idea is really, how do we help these students? This is a project started from a professor of architecture. He started bringing students, some fun together, and build bridges all over China. He brings the students to do the construction work. He studied the local material to use the local material. So bridges after bridges, every year a couple of bridges get built in different parts of China that last for a long time. Take on the school. 1KG, one of the best young NGOs that I've noticed in China. Somebody started this 2004 because he likes to travel. Every time he travels, he carries in his backpack extra books, clothing, and toys, and he leaves it in school that he goes to meet. And he started this platform called 1kg.org. Why not promote young people when they travel to take a few days off and to visit incredible schools in China that the Board of Education does not reach? These are some of the trips that we take every year. We go to the villages. This is quite a mountain to climb, about 50, 60 students in this school. And we don't bring 1 kilo, we bring kilos. of clothing, toys, and one thing that we're changing now is the idea of 1 kilo of expertise. Can we bring more than objects? Can we bring teaching to the students? We interview the kids, ask them about the dreams that they have for their parents and for themselves. 1+1. This is a new project in China. This photographer tracks a child for 18 years to understand the length of this child's study. And this is adopted by somebody else in the city. So it's one kid in the city, 1 kid in the village. 1 laptop per child. I'm going to go through it. Some of you know this project. Green School in Bali is a school that is not costing little, but is bringing families from around the world, have them to bring their children for 1 or 2 years to learn about sustainable future. The entire school is built by John Hardy in Bali. It's all made of bamboo. It's also called Bamboo School. And they have 10%. This year they're going to go up to 20% of Balinese students to be mixed with these international students for them to have really good, true exchange. Active citizenship. Work in village. If there are 5 things to do in villages, and how can we find ways to work with them? First, interview to understand local stories, to understand local heritage. Photography and video, documentations and material, content that you can use for future. Hard design and soft design, architecture, bridge design, as well as embroidery, fabric, branding, and packaging. This is my last slide. Okay, the takeaway slide. When we always, there's one other problem in China that I feel is that the word culture is just way overly used. It's almost a word that I feel distant from, because I don't know what it means anymore, because the local printer calls his company House of Culture. So I think in the session that we're going to have later, I'm going to really find a way to really talk a little bit about culture in China. And I think these are for me, the few words that is really quite important to kind of to see where we can take it. The culture of sharism, contribution, because of the Cultural Revolution, the Chinese is really on the me state of mind very much, or my clan's state of mind. So how do we open that? Pay it forward, giving. The concept of optimism, mindfulness of 3 generations. So it's not just for my generation, it's really for the younger ones and for the older ones. Empowerment, the culture of X, and the culture of balance. Thank you, everybody.